There's a canyon in the Himalayas so deep, so remote, that hardly anyone has ever stood at the bottom of it. And right now China is building something there, something that could become the most powerful hydroelectric project ever attempted. When it's finished, it's expected to generate nearly 3 times the electricity of the world's largest dam. It could cost more than any dam in human history, and it sits at the headwaters of a river that hundreds of millions of people downstream depend on. But this story isn't really about electricity. It's about power, and not the kind you measure in megawatts. Because whoever controls the source of a major river gains enormous influence over everyone who depends on it downstream. And in this case, those downstream nations include 2 of Asia's largest powers. This is the story of China's $167 billion megadam, and why some experts believe it could reshape the balance of power across an entire region. To understand why this project matters, you first have to understand the river. The Yarlung Tsangpo begins high on the Tibetan plateau, often called the roof of the world. For hundreds of miles, it winds quietly across one of the highest landscapes on Earth. Then everything changes. The river reaches a massive curve known as the Great Bend. Here it wraps around towering Himalayan peaks before plunging through one of the deepest canyons on the planet. In a relatively short distance, the river drops thousands of feet in elevation. And that drop represents something incredibly valuable: energy. Lots of it. China looked at this canyon and saw one of the greatest untapped hydroelectric opportunities on Earth. Current estimates suggest the facility could generate as much as 60 gigawatts of electricity. For comparison, the Three Gorges Dam produces around 22 gigawatts. This project could potentially produce nearly 3 times as much. To put that into perspective, a single river canyon in Tibet could generate more electricity than some entire countries. Because the Yarlung Tsangpo doesn't stay in China, after crossing into India, it becomes the Brahmaputra River. From there it continues into Bangladesh, supporting agriculture, ecosystems, transportation networks, and millions of livelihoods. Which raises an uncomfortable question. What happens when one country controls the headwaters of a river that other nations depend on? Supporters argue the dam is primarily about clean energy and economic development. Critics worry it could provide China with significant influence over downstream water flows. And suddenly, water becomes part of the strategic equation. As if the political concerns weren't enough, there's another challenge: nature. The Himalayas are one of the most geologically active regions on Earth. The ground is still moving. The region has experienced some of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded on land. In 1950, a magnitude 8.6 earthquake struck this area. The event was powerful enough to alter river systems. Now imagine one of the largest hydroelectric projects in human history operating in that environment. Step back from the politics, step back from the engineering, and a larger picture begins to emerge. The 20th century was shaped by competition for oil. Nations fought wars over it, built alliances around it, constructed entire economies on top of it. But the defining resource of the 21st century may be something even more fundamental: water. You can't manufacture it, you can't replace it, and every society depends on it. High in a remote Himalayan canyon, one of the largest infrastructure projects in human history is already taking shape, and the decisions made there could influence the future of Asia for generations. Because the next great competition between nations may not be over oil fields. It may be over rivers,